If you're new to my channel, I want to say welcome and let you know what I do. I break down the latest trucking news and deep dive into the real world mechanics of this industry. My goal is to offer solutions and advice for owner operators who are trying to navigate this game without losing their shirts. And I don't just talk about the surface level, I get into the numbers and the strategies that keep your wheels turning when everyone else is folding. All right, I need you to do me a favor right now. I want you to close your eyes just for a second. Picture yourself driving down the interstate. Maybe it's I-10, maybe it's I-95, or maybe you're just on a local highway heading to the grocery store. You got the kids in the back seat. Maybe your spouse is in the passenger seat. You're doing 65, maybe 70 miles an hour. Now, look to your left. There's an 18-wheeler right next to you. It's a massive piece of machinery. 80,000 pounds of steel, rubber, and cargo. It's a literal missile if it isn't handled with precision. You trust that person behind the wheel of that rig as a professional. You trust that they know the laws. You trust that they are rested, sober, and qualified. You trust that if a sign comes up that says danger, bridge out, or steep grade ahead, they can read it. Well, folks, on this video, I'm here to shatter that trust because a new report has came out regarding Operation Safe Drive. And the numbers aren't just bad, they are terrifying. We are talking about nearly 2,000 trucks pulled off the road in a single sweep. But that is not even the headline. The headline is why. I'm going to dig deep into a story from the national desk involving Sean Duffy and a massive sting operation that revealed the gaping hole in our national security and our public safety. I'm talking about hundreds of commercial drivers operating massive vehicles who literally cannot speak or read the English language, a fundamental federal requirement for holding a commercial driver's license. Let's start with the raw data because numbers don't lie. This wasn't a small checkpoint. This was Operation Safe Drive. This was a targeted enforcement blitz, and when the dust settled, law enforcement officers had placed nearly 2,000 commercial vehicles and drivers out of service. 2,000. Now think about the scale of that. That isn't 2,000 cars with a broken tail light. That is 2,000 commercial assets vital to the supply chain that were deemed too dangerous to be on the asphalt. But here is the statistic that should make your blood run cold. Out of those pulled over, nearly 500 drivers were placed out of service specifically because they failed the English language proficiency test. 500 drivers. Now let's pause and let that sink in. We aren't talking about a misunderstanding. We aren't talking about a heavy accent. We're talking about a failure to meet the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's requirement that a driver must be able to read and speak the English language sufficiently to converse with the general public, to understand highway traffic signs and signals, to respond to official inquiries, and to make entries on reports and records. That is the law, and it has been the law for a long time, and for good reason. If you have 500 drivers in just one operation who cannot meet the basic standard, how many thousands, how many tens of thousands are currently barreling down the highway right now, passing you and your family? Now, I know what some people in the comment section might say. They'll say, oh, why does it matter? Driving is physical. If they can steer and shift gears, who cares what language they speak? Well, let me tell you why you should care. Let me tell you why this is a life or death issue. Trucking is not just about steering, it's about situational awareness and rapid information processing. When you are driving a hazmat load, carrying flammable gas, explosives, or toxic chemicals, the signage on the road tells you where you can and cannot go. If a driver hits a sign that says no trucks left lane or low clearance 13 feet, and they cannot read that sign, they're going to hit that bridge. We see it happen all the time, but it gets worse. What if that sign says runaway truck ramp? What if that sign says hazmat prohibited? Communication is the bedrock of safety. If a state trooper pulls a driver over because smoke is billowing out of their trailer brakes and that trooper screams, "Get out of the cab, it's on fire," and that driver stares back blankly because they don't understand words coming out that officer's mouth, That is a catastrophe waiting to happen. Now, Sean Duffy, who has been sounding the alarm on this, points this out clearly. This isn't about discrimination. This is about the operational reality of managing 80,000 pounds of death on the highway. The federal regulations exist because people died to create them. Every safety regulation in the trucking industry is written in blood. And when we ignore the language requirement, we are spitting on the graves of the people whose accidents created those laws in the first place. So, the next logical question, the question you should be screaming at your screen right now, is how? How did 500 drivers in a single sting operation have a commercial driver's license if they couldn't pass an English test? You can't just walk into a DMV and pick up a CDL like a gumball. You have to take written tests. You have to take pre-trip inspection tests where you point to engine parts and explain what they are and what you are looking for. You have to do a road test. If these 500 people cannot speak English, how did they pass the pre-trip inspection? How did they pass the written exams? I'll tell you how. Fraud. Systemic organized fraud. We are looking at a system of CDL Mills, third party testers who are certified by the state but are taking cash under the table to pass people who have no business being behind the wheel. We are looking at testing centers that provide answers or translators where translators are strictly prohibited. This exposes a total breakdown in the Department of Transportation's oversight. It exposes a breakdown in the state licensing agencies. If you have a license in your wallet that says you are a professional, but you cannot perform the basic duties of that profession, that license is a lie. And right now, our highways are flooded with these lies. This operation, Operation SafeDrive, was necessary because the standard regulatory bodies were sleeping at the wheel. Texas DPS and other agencies had to step up because the filter that is supported to catch these unqualified drivers, the testing process itself, has been completely compromised. Now, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. You cannot discuss this story without discussing the broader context of what is happening at our borders. The article and the commentary from Sean Duffy highlights the connection between the surge in illegal immigration and the sudden influx of unqualified drivers in the trucking industry. Here is the economic reality. The trucking industry has a shortage of drivers. Big carriers and small owner operators alike are desperate for bodies and seats to keep the supply chain moving. When you have a massive influx of people entering the country who are looking for work, and you have an industry desperate for workers, corners get cut. Now, we are seeing a rush to get people credentialized, regardless of their actual ability or legal status to hold those credentials properly. It creates a black market for CDLs. It creates a predatory environment where drivers are put on the road by companies that know they aren't qualified, but they are willing to take that risk because the insurance hasn't caught up with them yet. This is where the illegal aspect of the URL comes into play. If someone is in this country illegally, or if they are here on a status that doesn't permit this level of commercial licensure without proper vetting, and they are bypassing the English requirement, we have a dual failure. We have an immigration enforcement failure, and we have a transportation safety failure. Now, Sean Duffy points out that this is a direct result of policy choices. When you have an open border and you have a lack of interior enforcement, it ripples out. It doesn't just stay at the border, it ends up in the lane next to you on the highway. It ends up in the form of a driver who panicked because he couldn't read a construction sign and jackknifed across 3 lanes of traffic. Let's pivot for a second and talk about your wallet. Because even if you don't get into an accident with one of these unqualified drivers, you are paying for this. Who pays when a truck flips over and shuts down the highway for 10 hours? You do. You pay in lost time. You pay in increased insurance premiums. Every time there is a catastrophic loss involving a commercial vehicle, insurance rates for the entire industry goes up. That cost is passed down to the loaf of bread you buy, the Amazon package you order, and the gas you put in your car. Furthermore, these out of service orders cost money. When nearly 2,000 trucks are pulled off the road in one day, that is supply chain disruption. That is cargo not getting to its destination. But the solution isn't to stop the inspections. The solution is to stop the fraud at the source. The economic damage is caused by the fake drivers, not the police catching them. We have genuine, hardworking American truckers, men and women, who've been doing this for over 30 years, who take pride in their rig, who know every regulation by heart. They are being undercut by this nonsense. They are sharing the road with amateurs who bought their license. It drives down wages for the professionals and it drives up danger for everyone else. There is a deep irony here that we need to expose. If you are a law abiding trucking company, the DOT is on you like a hawk. They check your log books down to the minute, they check your tire tread depth, they measure the air pressure in your brake lines, they audit your drug testing consortium. You can be fined thousands of dollars for a clerical error. But meanwhile, you have 500 guys running around who can't even say hello or license and registration in English. And they've been operating under the radar. It shows a two-tier justice system even on our highways. The people who try to follow the rules are harassed with red tape, while the people who blatantly ignore the most fundamental rule, communication, are skating by until a sting operation like this catches them. So why isn't the Department of Transportation revoking the certifications of the schools that graduated these drivers? That is the question that Sean Duffy is asking. If a driver fails an English test on the roadside, the next step should be an immediate investigation into where they got their license, who signed off on it. That tester should be in jail. That school should be shut down. But we aren't seeing that level of aggressive follow-up. We are seeing a catch and release mentality where the driver is put out of service for 10 hours, maybe fired, but the system that created him keeps churning out more. So, what is the end game here? Operation Safe Drive was a success in that it caught those guys, but it's a drop in the bucket. For every one they caught, how many slipped through? If the failure rate was this high, if 25% or more of the people pulled over in this specific subset had this specific issue, we are facing a crisis. We need a national audit of CDL holders. It sounds extreme, but the risk is extreme. We need to verify that people driving these missiles are who they say they are and can do what their license claim they can do. We need to demand that our politicians, local, state, and federal, stop playing politics with road safety. I don't care about your political correctness. I don't care if you think it's mean to require English. Physics don't care about your feelings. A roughly 80,000-pound truck hitting a minivan at 60 miles an hour generates force that doesn't care about your political ideology. The requirement is English. If you cannot speak it, you cannot drive, period. End of story. There is no wiggle room here. So, folks, this story from the national desk is a wake-up call. It is a signal flare going up over our interstate highway system. We have nearly 2,000 vehicles pulled off the road, 500 drivers who couldn't communicate with law enforcement. This is happening in your state. This is happening on your commute. The next time you are driving and you see that big rig drifting a little too close to the line, or you see a trucker making a move that doesn't make sense, remember this report. Remember that the system that is supposed to protect you has holes in it. We have to demand better. We have to support operations like Safe Drive, and we have to demand that the federal government closes the loopholes that allow these license mills to operate. I want you to read the full breakdown of this. I want you to see the numbers for yourself because I've only scratched the surface of how deep this rot goes. I have put the link to the full article in the description box below. Please do not just take my word for it. Click that link, read the report, forward it to your friends because this is about your safety. This is about your family's safety. And make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video and turn on your post notifications. And if you are a box truck driver and you're tired of fighting on the load board for freight, getting leftover scraps that the mega carriers don't want, grab my final mile contract plug pack. The plug pack has a list of 25 companies that are hiring in your area and they're looking for owner operators. And while you're still watching this video, Check out the video below on the screen where I talk about how 2023, 24, and 25 became a graveyard for some of the biggest names in the transportation industry. Companies like Yellow, Convoy, and Surge Transportation. All of them went down. Now, once again, I'm Marcellus with Trucking with MBR. Drive safe out there, keep your head on a swivel, and I'll see you on the next video.